Hey, this is Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Let's talk today about the games where you know you have to perform, where you know if you don't do well, the team isn't going to do well. Let's talk about how you know that from the very beginning, potentially, and then what you do during the game while it's happening. I have loaded in here to Pilsen. I am top tier, so you're starting to get one of your first clues about how you know you need to perform. In addition to that, I'm in a heavy, I'm on Pilsen, and we all know that the battle is going to be down in the factories or potentially in the middle factories. And while the field off to the east can be important, especially if you get flanked by a large force of mediums, typically it's the heavy brawl in the factories that's going to make a difference. So right off the bat, as I load it in and I look at this, I realize I am going to have to be that guy. I have to make a difference if this team is going to win. And we'll talk about how you do that as we go. One of the things you can do is try to get rid of that small repair kit thing. There we go. One of the things you can do is go to the right place. So right off the bat, I'm going to head straight down into the factories. Take a quick look at the two teams. You can see that they've got 3 heavies. We've got 2, but a super as well, so that's decent armor. And then a load of kind of TDs and mediums in the middle, and then the cats and dogs down on the bottom. So there's no really big glaring imbalances here, other than they do have one more heavy, but I would consider the super Pershing to kind of match that. So not bad. I do know, though, that I've got to get down into these factories and take up a good position. And if they try to push hard, I've got to be there to slow them down or stop them. Obviously, you can see my team is lagging the fight a little bit back there, but they are pushing up, so I feel comfortable that I'm not completely overexposed right here or overextended. And now I'm waiting to see what happens. An early analysis, as I was looking at this, I could see that there is a bit of a skirmish going on the east. The Comet has come down into the factories. I've got a Chi-Ri in the middle, but I haven't really found any SA on their big dogs yet. I see this Comet coming in here. I'm waiting for a shot, and that's just awful. Guys, if you're going to make that shot, you need to lead a little bit more. If I'd have shifted to the right slightly and zoomed out just a little bit so I could see him coming, I probably would have made that shot, and that was just awful on my part. All right, well, there's one of them. There's the 5100. Now, I don't want to rage out in front of him. He's got a clip. Hurt me pretty bad. RIS decides to do so. And then he stops, and then he backs up, and now he's going sideways, and there's the T-32. All right? So the battle has been joined. I realize I've got to make a difference in this game, and I'm trying to figure out how to do so. But right now, we've got a bit of a standoff down in the factories. Nobody's really pushing in on each other. What I do notice, though, that's a little bit different for our team, is that there's quite a stack of them in the middle in that big factory, right in the middle of the map, and we've only got an E25 kind of watching what's going on. So I'm sort of hoping the 5100 will peak so I can hit him. The IS pushes in. That's not really the time for me to follow up that. That was just a bad move on his part. He's now overextended over there, and I'm just waiting for a shot. Uh-oh, but what do we got going on in the middle? Looks like the 112 is pushed through, is flanking. The E25 is in trouble, more than likely. There's a Cromwell following up. That Chi-Ri is going to pile in. And while we do have some guys up in the northeast, the T28, E25 and such, they're sort of enamored of that eastern side. So right away we're starting to get flanked a little bit here. We're already a little bit outnumbered in the factory, heavy-wise, and now the 112's coming around and I start to notice this. So because I realize that I've got to be the one to do something, initially I want to deal with this T29 that's pushing in. I'd rather not him get on my flank. It looks like the ISU's got him dealt with. T-34 is holding the middle, but I realize we've got to get up here and get rid of this 112 who is looking at the juicy, so to speak, rear end of the ISU and loving that shot. So I'm going to push right up in here. He's at a bit of a disadvantage here. I am getting a much flatter look at his lower plate as I come uphill than he is. He's also got a depression issue with that gun, so I feel pretty confident I can either make him shoot my turret or hit into my upper plate. And now we have some guys that have reacted. Now, I'm not saying I am the only reason that we end up doing well in this game, but I do shift right there to make sure that we deal with this center push. And as I look down into the bottom factories where I was, it's looking good. So I'm just going to come around here, and we've got some guys that are well overextended, especially as we fold in on them like this. And we're going to be able to take out 3 tanks here for probably not losing too many, if any. Just push in here. I'm going to actually shoot at the Chiri, but end up hitting the T-37. I am using my heat, which is terrible. I wish I hadn't done that. Again, that's something I've noted several times. It's hard for me to change. I just hit 2 and keep shooting until it's gone. So not ideal. Should have tried to ram this T-37. Might have been able to kill him off right there. And now we have dealt with that middle push, but it's still a fairly even game. Now we got this medium here. Miss him by a mile. A little more aiming would have done well right there. I think I actually bounced this or some crazy thing here. Or someone killed him first, not sure. Now I do have the Type 64 and E25 sitting behind me, and because it's my rear armor, they can butter through that pretty easily. So I'm trying to hug to the left here and minimize the amount of shots they have on me. Probably should have cut left even more, but that ends up letting them have a shot. I'll bounce one, get a little lucky. There we go. So now I am shifting back down to the lower factory. I reacted to that middle push. We cleaned that up. I'm not too worried about the field right now. It's a lot of little stuff. I'd rather get rid of the RHM, the T-32. In addition to that, my T-34, the longer I can keep him alive, the better. So I'm going to come down here and help this guy. I'm looking for the RHM and the T-32. Tag teaming, they can probably wreck me or maybe even beat me, depending on if they can get back around corners. So I do want to be careful because there is 2. As long as I try to work with this T-34 as much as possible, that should help. I really have no idea where they went. My suspicion is they actually went all the way back because that E25 is in the backfield, but that turns out to be not quite true. The E25 is not seeing them, so I'm going to spin back around. Try to find these guys. Where are they? There we go. There's the T-32. He keeps on trucking that way. Rather than turn right, and although I would be putting my front armor to him, I'd rather not be trying to chew through his front armor. So he's not very fast. I figure I can probably catch him. And heck of a deal, RNG helps me out. Now where is that RHM? There he is. And we're going to play Ring Around the Rosie with the RHM. He ends up getting my 34, unfortunately, but I see the E25 moving up to help me. So between the 2 of us, we should be able to handle this guy. I'm slightly faster than the RHM, so eventually I will win this merry-go-round. E25 goes right in, so that's very helpful. He takes a hit. He probably knew he was going to. Actually rams the guy and doesn't take too much damage. I was surprised he didn't die, but the RHM's a fairly light vehicle. Just ram into him, and more than likely this E25 will finish him. There we go. And now we've just got the 3 tanks, but still a 3v3. I'm on good hit points, so obviously we have a pretty big advantage here. Although it's only a 400 hit point advantage, those little tanks are going to have a hard time dealing with me. Unless they can get me out in the open and start shooting my side. But you can see I moved back up to the middle. I went down to the lower factories where I needed to be to begin with. Reacted up to the middle factory. Took care of that push. Went back down to the lower factories to deal with what was in there. I think I bounced this guy or some crazy thing. Or miss. I don't know what happened there. Miss or bounce. He gets really aggressive, which is actually to my advantage. He's just going to push in here, so get close with this big derpy gun. That should work out for me. There we go. Tracked him, but he ends up fixing it. I'm watching for the T-64 because they could beat me if they both get in behind me and I have a hard time getting my gun on them. It could get ugly for me. He's trying to go around, get a little ram. He misses. Take him out. And there goes the Type 64. Now all we've got to deal with is the 3001. So approaching 3,500 damage. I'll end up with around 4,000. Actually bounce off. I don't even know if that's actually a damageable item. It put a shot into it and said crit no damage, but I'm not even sure what that is. If it's a gas tank or what. Bad luck. I actually auto-aimed this guy. Come in here. I have him locked on. You'll notice that it's auto-aimed right to the center of his hole, which is what it does. And then his gun is kind of sitting there. He's trying to shoot my hatch, I think. I'll actually shift away. You see how right at the end I took the auto lock off and shifted to the left and shot straight into his hole. What I wanted to avoid was actually bouncing off his gun for some reason right there. It's possible, especially if he'd have lowered it down. He might have been able to put his gun in my way. So you get 4,200 damage, 4,237. And sometimes, you know, you load in, you're the top tier. You just know from the beginning of that fight that if something good's going to happen, you've got to make it happen. And that's a little bit on how to assess that and then what to do. Take it easy.